100% mental, if that makes sense. You're going to outrun or walk your training. You're going to outrun or walk what's comfortable, what you know. For every single person in that race, you will reach a point where it's just pure mental grit and the decision to keep going, and make your body keep moving to the finish line. And so I think anyone who's mentally strong and set that as a goal could absolutely finish it. It's more mental than physical, if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. That's why the only reason I've kept pushing myself, and keep going longer distances.
Yeah.
Started out, my first race was the Sound and Arrows 12K. I'm like, okay, I want to get into running. I'll do this 12K, and see how that goes. And my first day out training for it, my first time ever out running, ran 6 miles nonstop. And I'm like, oh, well, wait, 12K, what's that? 7.5 miles? Okay, yeah, I can do that. And it's
Totally.
like, finished that one, got to the end. It's like, can we do it again? But
yeah,
it's
no, that's
like,
how I feel with Moab. I want the perspective that I gained at like mile 200. I want to have that perspective on life again, if that makes sense.
yeah,
It's funny, I have a video clip of us standing there watching a sunset, and we're both like crying. We're sleep deprived. This is day 4. And I'm like, oh, for us, that was the most beautiful sunset in the world. And to see the video, you see it and you're like, okay, yeah, that's an okay sunset. It happens every day. But it's like you had to be standing there having come 200 miles
yeah,
to see that sunset and experience it. It's like you can't put it into words how you started to see life and yourself and your relationships and the people around you, the experiences that shaped you. The lens that you get at that distance had so much clarity that I just want to experience that again. And it kind of fades away once you're done with the race. So that's why when it came back up, I was like, okay, I got to go back out and do that again.
yeah. Well, you had said something yesterday or the day before about registering for it solo, and first thought in my mind was, because I've been following you and Sam's training and read up on your experiences at the Moab 240, and it's like, you had said that about signed up for it solo, and I'm like, immediately I was like, whoa, maybe I better get training and so I can run with her.
Yeah, you are welcome to, Shane. I would love to have you come out and pace
But
any part of that.
but I was just looking here on my phone and looked at the registration, and it's like, if I can, if I don't know about coming up with that for the registration, but if I could get the registration covered, I'd be down, because it's definitely sounds like quite an adventure.
Yeah, I think people are craving that because that race actually sold out in 1 hour. There were 250 spots, and within an hour, I think it was just over an hour, it sold out. And it's funny that you have this many people that want to go 240 miles. You think
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to collect enough runners to do it, and
Jeez.
instead that it sold out in an hour. And I think the wait list is like 140 people.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I think the reason is just the mental growth and experience that you get from that distance once you've had that. A lot of the people are people returning
Yeah.
that want to experience that again, or maybe a lot of the people who come out to pace and crew and volunteer and witness the event and witness and see what people are going through, then they want to jump in and do it the next year too, just because it really is a transformative experience that will just completely change your life. So
Yeah, it
it,
definitely sounds like it. Right on. Yeah, and so you're, you know, so far as your involvement in the Evolve Fitness group,
mm-hmm.
um,
Yes.
that helps keep you amped up and keeps you fit for this,
Yeah, I mean,
running these insane distances.
I absolutely believe that. I obviously strength train probably more than most runners do. A lot of runners shy away from doing strength training. Um, I had started my fitness journey at Evolve and my weight loss journey there, so I was already doing that first. So I kind of came to running from Evolve and not the other way around, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, but even that being said, I have kept going to Evolve at a really high rate because I really truly believe it makes me a stronger runner, a stronger person. Um, and I think it's actually specifically helpful for ultra running. We had a class earlier this week that was running 200 meters, no rest. You went straight into strength movements with a medicine ball. My heart was beating so hard. I was having these mental thoughts of like, how am I going to finish this? How am I going to do this? And it occurred to me, I'm like, this is literally how running an ultra marathon feels about halfway. Like, this is the feeling I got at Moab 240 at mile 120 when we didn't know if we were going to finish or not. We couldn't see how we were going to finish this race. And so to be able to go there mentally in a 30-minute workout helps prepare me for, you know, mile 120, mile 80 without having to actually run 80 miles, which would be very taxing for my body. I can't do that every day. I can go to Evolve every day and get the mental training from it. And I also just believe in the power of lunging, squatting, you know, using your body different. Runners are super prone to overuse injuries. If you think about it, running is the same movement over and over and over and over again, which is going to tax certain parts of your body more than others. So for me, I think going and jumping and, you know, doing all these different movements, adding in weight, working the accessory muscles, working the core, that Shane, I wish you could have seen it. But I had heard this, but I had never actually seen this, that the core muscles are often in ultra runners one of the things that kind of gives out first at the ultra distances. And we saw people in the second half of Moab that were leaned over. They were running, but they couldn't hold their body up straight anymore. Their core muscles couldn't support the body and the pack, because that's the thing too. You're carrying your own water. You're carrying, you know, there's a whole list of things that we had to carry. We had to have a coat and pants and a bivy bag and 3 liters of water. I mean, my pack was 10 or 11 pounds. So that takes some core strength to wear that vest and carry it for 4 days. And we actually saw runners at the end that couldn't do it, and they were running and their core muscles had given out. We were still running upright, and I absolutely attribute Evolve and all of the strength training that I had done that keeps you strong full body versus just running. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, on my, of course, on my, just regular running around town here, and just shorter runs, I don't wear my, hydration pack,
Right.
and so it's not wearing on my back, but my lower back still hurts
Yeah.
sometimes because I find myself as I'm running, find myself scrunched over forward, got a little humpback going on, and
Yeah.
one tip that I was given at a run clinic I was at, is to maintain your posture, keep your back straight. And
Yep.
one thing I have noticed, and I can speak from experience, is that so long as I'm keeping my back straight, my back doesn't seem to start hurting, and I can focus on my leg movement and
Yeah.
running properly, and it just feels a lot better, and my running improves
Yeah.
so
No.
much.
Yeah, running is truly a core exercise. When you're running, short distances, you don't really feel it. Maybe you're not aware of it. But when you go 100 miles, 200 miles day after day, that's when you really start to tap into, oh my gosh, you have to keep the body upright. Like you're saying, you want to keep a nice neutral alignment, a little bit of a forward lean, but from the ankle, not at the waist. So I just can't overemphasize for runners. People ask me, why do you strength train so much? Do you think that hurts your running? Do you think? And I really think it only adds. The other way I think it helped to train me is that I usually do evolve and run. Like you said, most days I'm doing both. And yes, that means that I am running fatigued all the time. I'm not running on fresh legs. But for ultra running, that's the reality of the race. In 100 or 200 miles, think of the tiny fraction of that you're going to feel fresh. Maybe 20 miles. You still have 220 miles to go. So for me, running on fresh legs is almost meaningless. It doesn't really matter for the distances that I want to cover. What matters is, can I figure out how to run when my legs are tired, when my body's tired? So the other day when I did that 20 miles of running or 21 miles of running for 2021, I did it after Evolve. And we had done weighted lunges and jump squats and all these things. And I felt it right when I started running, like, oh man, my legs aren't fresh. My legs are fatigued. But then again, I'm like, exactly, that's the sport I'm in. That's the sport I love, is figuring out how to run, how to move when you're exhausted. And so I think Evolve has really helped, again, specifically train me for the ultra distances, because it gets me to that fatigue state without just purely running 50 miles to train leg fatigue, if that makes sense. I think that's something that Sam and I did really well preparing for Moab, was just a really high volume of activity in a fatigued state, because that's how most of the race will feel.
Yeah, I can definitely understand and vouch for that one.
Yeah.
You get so many miles out there, and it's like your mind's telling you, okay, we better shut down now. No more running, maybe. Maybe just call someone to come give us a ride to the finish line, and we can get our car and go home. But it's like, nope, I'm in this now. I got to keep going. So slow your pace, take a break, whatever you got to do, but just keep on moving.
Yeah. We both even came into Moab each with a little injury, and we would kind of joke that we were, again, maybe you're mentally prepping yourself or pumping yourself up, but we're kind of happy we're starting a little injured, because then we never felt good. So you never have to lose that. You don't really have to descend from a good place to a hurting place. You just start off feeling a little beat up and proceed to get more beat up and keep moving.
Right on. Yeah, I totally understand that. It's like not getting any worse. So, what's the big deal? Let's just keep going.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing I try to tell people about ultra running too. I think people have this idea that it's this linear experience. Like you start off feeling good, then you feel kind of bad, and then you feel worse, and then you finish, or not. But that's so not the truth. I'm sure you've experienced it. Ultra running is absolutely this strange mix of highs and lows. Like you can feel, to me, the beginning actually in some ways always feels a little terrible because of how much is left. Mentally, sitting with and accepting how many miles are left and assessing your body. I remember being like at my